Welcome to Own It, the podcast where we talk to real estate thought leaders about embracing your strengths, taking your career to new heights, and owning your future. Welcome to Own It. I'm Hillary Saunders, along with my magnetic co-host, Spencer Kroll.
Thank you, Hillary.
But I am so beyond excited to be chatting with the glittery Glennda Baker today. And you have been on my top wanting to interview people since we started the podcast.
Right.
So welcome to Own It, Glennda. I'm just going to do a little intro and then want to hear from you, not from us. But you are the realtor to a dear friend of mine, Leslie Appleton Young, and she speaks nothing but wonderful things about you. You have your own podcast, right? Glitter and Gay. Love it.
I do.
I'm a big fan. And you've been in the industry for almost 30 years and almost all in and around Atlanta, right?
Yeah, so actually last week was year 31, my anniversary, September 13th. And I've been in Atlanta since I was 2. I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee, but I've always sold real estate here in Atlanta. And Leslie Appleton Young and I actually crossed paths at a mastermind in Las Vegas. We were in a suite in Las Vegas, and I was so captivated by her that I ran up, totally fangirling. My name is Glennda Baker. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. I just want to tell you, I think you're amazing, blah, 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 blah. I had on this gorgeous pink chiffon dress and these fabulous pink sequin boots. I can tell you right this very second. I remember the moment I met her. Absolutely wonderful person. And subsequently, her son-in-law is an economist at Georgia Tech. And she said, my daughter Becca and my son-in-law are looking for a house, and you came highly referred, and we met. And I'm like, oh my God, of course I remember you. And then she and John moved here, and it was literally, I love real estate. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a dream to me. Like when I wake up in the morning, I almost am afraid to open my eyes because I think that this is a dream. Like it's not even like work to me. Like I'm never tired. Like I'm so excited. So it's so cool. So I'm selling a house to Leslie and John and with my business partner, Eveline. And it's just like I don't work. I get to talk on the phone, ride around in the car, and sell houses to my friends. Like, in what other life do you make a gazillion dollars doing something that you love with your friends? So for me, it's like a dream life.
You know what's funny is you mentioned that you're afraid to open your eyes in the morning when you wake up. I'm also afraid, but for very different reasons. But that said, so did you always serve real estate? Did you have a career beforehand, or did you just dive into real estate as your first career?
Oh my Lord, no. The first thing that I ever sold was beer out of the trunk of my car.
Was this legal or legally out of the trunk?
Time out. Before you continue, I'm just going to say I did that also, but with cigars. Okay, continue.
So I always looked older than I was. So I would go to Pitch and Putt and I would buy 2 cases of Pabst Blue Ribbon. It was $2.99 a 6-pack. I'd buy 3 bottles of Cella Bianca. They were $2.99 a bottle. And I would buy a bottle of peach schnapps for $6. The senator's daughter loved peach schnapps. I would sell them to her for $20. The Pabst Blue Ribbon, I would sell for $5 a can. Out of the trunk of my car, my mom would say, Pumpkin, do you need any money? I'd say, oh no, Mommy, I hardly ever go anywhere. And I would literally go to the arcade and sell that shit out of my trunk. Wow. It was hilarious.
Let's not talk about what you sold out of your trunk.
You don't want to know. In my trunk, nothing.
Okay.
So that was kind of my first job. But before real estate, I designed and manufactured ladies' clothing. And I loved it. But that business was just so mean and the people were very cutthroat. And I just told my mom, I said, I just don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And she said, Pumpkin, you should be a real estate agent. So I went to real estate school. I tried to get a job as an assistant. Nobody would hire me. I read a book, How to Develop a Six-Figure Income in Real Estate by Mike Ferry. I called everybody that I knew and I said, you can buy a house or you can sell a house. And 5 people decided to list their house with me, and the rest is history.
Wait, time out, because I heard a great rendition of this story, I think on the Atlanta Board of Realtors podcast not too long ago, where if I remember correctly, you went into the top agent's office and said, hi, I want to do what you do, or hire me as an assistant or whatever. And she didn't give you the job because you were too exuberant.
Yeah, so there were these 3 ladies, and they were soldiers. I mean, they were buttoned up. They were the reload queens. I can tell you what Sandy Assad was wearing. Like, I can see her right now. And they are just sitting there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my name is Glennda Baker, blah, 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 blah. And we're like 5 minutes in, and she goes, you can leave now. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, I will never hire you because you are way too bubbly. You would get on my last nerve. So I left and I cried. And then I went to these other 2 agents, Lucy and Irene, and I loved them. Oh my gosh, I loved them. It was just a match made in heaven. Irene calls me the next day. She goes, Glennda, we love you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you too. She goes, we are not going to hire you. You're not going to be an assistant for long. And we don't want to train our competition. So we're going to wish you the best of luck. Have a great life.
Okay.
And I was like, you're kidding me. So I went to this broker at the Real Estate Taj Mahal here in Atlanta. And I said, I've got 5 listings. Nobody will hire me as an assistant. I didn't realize till I went to real estate school that you only got paid when you sold a house. Like in my world, like I had sold shoes. Like you got paid on Friday. Like I'm sitting in the class and the teacher goes, I never forget, Ann Cyphers goes, okay, so when you sell a house, you make X% of the sales price. And I'm like, okay, well, how much do you make every Friday? She goes, oh, you only get paid when you sell a house. I'm like, what if you don't sell a house? She goes, you don't get paid. I'm like, oh shit, like this is a terrible job. And so I was
Feast or famine, definitely, yeah.
I had no idea. Like I had never ever in my life not had a job where I didn't get paid on Friday. Of course, I'd only worked at the department store, and sold beer out of my trunk. But anyway, I digress. So then I get my real estate license. I have 5 people that want to sell their house, and I was licensed on September 13th, and my first closing was December the 6th.
Wow.
That's impressive. And now you have Glennda Baker and Associates. So that's quite a journey from working from, just starting working for another company to now owning your own brokerage. Why did you go on your own?
Well, so you're going to laugh and maybe you'll stop the tape when I tell you this. So I worked for another brokerage and I was going through a divorce and I was like, I need to keep all of the money. So I got my broker's license and I started Glennda Baker and Associates literally in my living room going through a divorce with $44.
Got to start somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had been selling real estate for a while, but I was raising kids and I was married and it was just very messy. And I started Glennda Baker and Associates and I ran that company for 11 years. And then a large company bought the assets of Glennda Baker and Associates, and I went to work under a brokerage. And nobody knows this because I still own Glennda Baker and Associates as a brokerage here in Atlanta. But actually, my team and I run our brokerage under another brokerage, and nobody ever associates me with anything other than Glennda Baker and Associates.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about this business, and it's a very similar business model to a company I know of. But but that said, people always say
It's the power of a brand.
Well, there you go, 100%. When people always say that people hire the agent and not the brokerage. So I think you prove that case. How many agents do you have working for you right now?
I have 5 girls that 5 female. I'm an all-female team. Mm-hmm. But Spencer, I did a presentation at Inman about brand over brokerage. And when I started in 1992, I needed the real estate Taj Mahal, because back in 1992, it was a good old boys world, especially here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Everybody did business with Buckhead Brokers, the big real estate company here in Atlanta. They're no longer in business, so I can say their name. And so in 1992, when I started, the agent needed the brokerage. Mm-hmm. But in 2024, the brokerage needs the agent. And the age of the real estate influencer has given real estate agents this ability to really create their own brand, be their own brand. You don't need ABC big box brokerage for you to be amazingly successful, because Mr. Big Box Brokerage isn't coming on the listing appointment. Mr. Big Box Brokerage, do you know that of the 10 largest brokerages as recorded by that T360, which is our very legitimate recording, do you know that one of the top 10 brokerages doesn't even have a social media account?
Wow.
Do you know that of all of those 10 brokerages, they have a combined following of 600,000? If you took 10, not the top 10 real estate agents in the country, but if you took 10, let's call it well-known real estate agents, they have over 8 million followers. Mm-hmm. The age of influence of the agent and of the individual company has never been stronger than it is today.
Well, I do want to point out one thing, just kind of a follow-up here, but you obviously have systems in place. So some people who are not going to be as driven as you do or you are, they're going to rely on whatever systems that the brokerage has. How did you come up with a special sauce? What did you, you had to do this, right? You had to create yourself after your divorce. What's that evolution?
Well, survival. I didn't have the luxury to fail. I had 2 small children that depended on me to feed them. And both of my parents were deceased. It wasn't like I had some trust fund to go to. I'm sitting in the middle of the living room floor with $44 in my Bank of America account, feeding my kids Panda Express for $9.99 so the 3 of us could eat. So there was this survival mode that I was in. And I was always willing to bet on myself. I knew 1,000% that I was a sure thing. Mm. I knew that I could develop a duplicatable system. And that duplicatable system for me was sphere of influence. It was where I lived. And it was taking an interest in people.
And what you just said resonates with me specifically, is that you have to bet on yourself. You come into this world on your own and you go out on your own, and it's you at the end of the day that can make it or break it. But that's something that I think that we find is it's not everybody has it. It's very ubiquitous with entrepreneurs. Like, we've got that gung-ho, like, sure, business will fail. Okay, we'll do it again. We'll do it differently. But how do you gauge in your team, or if you hire or, bring on new team members, if they have that belief in themselves too?
Well, I disc test everybody. Mm. I know who I work well with. I know who I have the ability to bring out the best in. And, it's just by happenstance that all of the agents that work with me, everyone that works with me is female. because, and I did this interview with Emily Tish Sussman, who her family owns the New York Giants. And we talked about the difference between career paths for men and women. And I made the comment to her, I said, well, I think that when men are making their career path, they make the steps very logically. Where women, when they're making their steps, they're making them emotionally. And then I went back and added to her that they're emotionally logical. Because when a woman makes a decision in her career, she's not just thinking about where's this going to take me in my career. She's thinking about where is that going to take her in her family? Where is that going to take her in her community? How does that fit in to more than just the career? And so I really look for that skill set when I'm hiring agents. I also think that you attract what you project.
Yeah.
And everybody who works with me, I'll show $1,000 rental just like an agent will show $1,000 rental. I'm not too good to hold an open house. Nobody is my peon. Nobody works for me. We all work together to make each other better and stronger. And that's just how I've run my team. And I believe in them. Those are not just agents. The people who work with me are an extension of me. Not just my family, they are an extension of me, and I love them. I treat them, like family.
It's interesting because we have brokers that have two different ways that they do it, and some of them are exactly where you say it, that these people represent you, that you're in the field with them, and that you're setting an example, basically showing them that I'm going to do this too. And then there are people who have this I'm not in my business, I'm on my business sort of perspective, and they're like, you go do what you want to do. So you've never considered that. You've never considered stepping back, it doesn't look like.
No. And everybody asks me, oh, Glennda, now that you're TikTok famous, are you going to stop selling real estate? No. I love helping people buy and sell and invest in real estate. I love helping agents hone their skill and be the best. I want to take our entire industry and I want us all to just be better.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't have any interest in scaling back. It's not like work. Why would I want to scale back? Why would I want to slow down? Why would I want to step out of my business? Because for me, it's fun. What else would I do that I love so much?
That's like when people ask me, how do you find work-life balance? With twin 3.5-year-olds and a 9-year-old and dog, cat, and whatever else, partridge in a pear tree. It isn't about the balance because I incorporate them and that is my life. I love real estate. It's a relationship business. I love who we work with, who we get to talk with, and you just incorporate them in it. And for me, I have the same feeling. It doesn't feel like work when you are so passionate about it.
Yeah. I mean, and I love the art of the deal. I love to get the buyer the best price. I love to get the seller the most money. I love the closing table. I do these cakes at closing. My name is Glennda Baker. So I do these cakes at closing that has a picture of the house on it with glitter. And
a picture of their house?
A picture of the loan. Yeah, of the house that they bought or sold.
Wow, love it.
That's great.
A picture of the mortgage person, a picture of the attorney, a picture of the other agent. Just to me, the closing is such a celebration. Home ownership was such a huge thing for my mother. I remember when she was able to buy her first house, and I remember when I was able to buy my first house. It was such a sense of pride for us that I want everybody to feel excited like that. And so it's a celebration, and we do cakes, and We
sounds
do
like a party.
Yeah.
great parties and stuff.
How did you get into TikTok?
Well, I was at a conference. I was at a Tom Ferry conference, and Zachary Faust, I guess at the time he was maybe 24 years old, an agent in Delaware, did a TikTok about a client who bought a car between contract and closing, and he had 43,000 views. And I looked at my friend Sergio. I said, if that kid could do TikTok, I could do TikTok. And I came back to Atlanta and started doing TikTok because I loved video. I already had a series called Posts from the Porsche that I did on Facebook Live from my car. And I grew up as an only child talking to myself in the mirror. So talking on camera wasn't, and obviously I could talk to a wall. But I mean, I could talk about real estate forever. And so I loved it. To me, the people in video land were my friends. And when Zillow bought Showing Time was the first time I ever went live on Instagram. And I was doing TikTok videos, and it just started like clicking, and people started talking and saying stuff. And, I made a truckload of money from putting videos online, and I love it.
So when you're saying you're making a truckload, you mean you're making it from advertising revenue or from selling houses?
No, from selling houses.
I just want to make sure. I don't know.
No, she's selling truckloads of beer now.
right.
Well,
and the peach schnapps.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I do have sponsors that pay money, but to be honest with you, that's the swimming pool money.
Where's your breakout from, like where your clients are coming from? Because obviously you're getting quite a few from TikTok and online. What is the breakdown?
So sit down. So
I am sitting. Ready to go.
We're here. We're ready.
Our largest percentage of business is past client referral, past client and sphere of influence.
Sure.
Then our second largest is agent to agent referrals. And those are agents who mostly know about us from social media, from our social media videos. And then our third largest is literally TikTok and Instagram. And you're like, but Glennda, how can you be sure? Because I always ask the question, what was it that triggered your phone call to me today? And that's the most important question you can ask when somebody calls you to do business with you. That way you can source where that business came from.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about the agent to agent referrals come off, social media as well, because we all follow other influencers and real estate professionals. And that is when your client's moving to Atlanta, who'd you call? You're like, oh gosh, I know Glennda. Let me just refer her. I didn't even think about that.
Well, I got a phone call from
they think they know me.
Yeah.
Right.
They like you think you know me. I have no idea. We've never ever met in person.
No.
Like you think you know me from my videos.
Well, I'm really hoping your online persona is not like total 180 from real life, because that would be a bummer.
There's a difference between agents that sell real estate to make content and people that make content to sell real estate. There's a huge difference. And you can be anything on social media, and especially here in Atlanta, where the entertainment industry is really big. And I'll see these agents, and I mean, there's this one guy. I mean, this guy is driving a Maybach. He's driving a Rolls. He's driving a Bentley. I mean, he is head to toe, top to bottom, dressed, dripping in jewels and everything. The realtor to the rappers. And I'm like looking at that guy's production. The highest sale he's had is $373,000. And that's all bullshit. And I'm like, what in the world? Yeah. So, you really need to make sure that there's proof in the pudding, because anybody can be anything on social media.
Yeah.
So for people who are listening who maybe are not, realtors who can go look up production, how does the average Bob or Joe or whomever go and find out if that person on social that they're about to go call and list their $1 million house with is actually as good as they portray themselves to be?
Reviews, Zillow, Google reviews. I mean, Number one, you need to have somebody who's got some meat in their reviews. Glennda sold my house at 123 Banana Street in East Cobb. She did a great job, because the people that are pretend real estate agents do not have a lot of reviews. Number one.
That's a good point.
Number two, Zillow, you got to have a transaction to attach to that review, which I love. So it really weeds out the riffraff. But ultimately, if you are interviewing a real estate agent, you should ask them 3 people that they're currently working with as buyers or sellers, and 3 people that they've sold in the last 3 months as buyers and sellers. As I'm telling you right now, if somebody's not selling 1 house a month, they're not doing real estate enough to be good.
Yeah. It's funny because when I would do listings, they never did ask the questions that were really important. They want, what's your marketing look like? Well, okay. I mean, I understand that's important, but how am I able to keep a deal together? Right? Like that's the bigger question.
Yeah.
So.
And when I was just talking to some potential listing clients last week, it was, okay, how do you differentiate yourself from, say, Sotheby's or Compass or any other big box name? It was like, well, actually, are you calling me because of me and my experience, or because of who my license is with? And they're like, oh, well, because of you and your experience. I'm like, right. So there's your answer.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, and Spencer, you make a really great statement.
Finally,
people always ask me, no. I mean, really, people always ask me, why should we hire you? And I say, the reason you should hire me is because last year I wrote 117 contracts and 114 closed.
There you go.
And I don't care if you interview 100 real estate agents, you won't find anybody else that can say that.
There's an agent I know who, when he asks why should you hire me, he says, and he gives them the number of another agent, and it says, just ask them what they think of me. And they call, and it's like, oh, he's my biggest competition, but yeah, he's good. Right, like he'll say that, and maybe they'll say something, a little bit off, but he is confident enough that he can say to them, yeah, other people like me in the business, and that's an important part of it too. When you're working with buyers, certainly, of how am I going to get my offer accepted in the area?
This is so funny. Heinz Ward, he had interviewed like every agent in Atlanta, and it's like my 3rd or 4th or 5th circle around with him, and I asked him, I said, So what was it about your last agent that bothered you? And he goes, she asked me what I thought she should do to sell my house. He's like, that was like me asking her how to play football. And I said to him, you've interviewed every real estate agent in town. It's time for you to pass me the ball and let me run it into the end zone. And he goes, you are hired. And it was literally that boldness and being able to have that confidence that he believed in me. Right. And he did. And I think that that's a lot of times where agents kind of miss the boat, is like you can make your clients a lot of money when you have clarity and certainty to give them confidence and comfort to make a decision to pick you. Because
you felt really confident in yourself.
Can you imagine going to a plastic surgeon and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, no.
I did, and this is why I look like this. But that's, I wish you had given me that advice beforehand.
Shoot.
But, yeah. No, 100%, 100%. Sure.
I am the Michael Jordan of real estate. And I truly believe that. And I feel bad when I go on a listing appointment and they go with somebody else. Like I literally feel bad for them. I don't think there's any real estate agent in Atlanta that's better than me.
I love the confidence. I love it. Before we wrap up, I want to know where you think the real estate industry is going right now, or where should it go?
Well, everybody's always going to need a place to live. My biggest concern is 0 to 500,000. I think that those homes are being gobbled up by institutional buyers. I think that the first-time home buyer, the school teacher, the police officer, the veteran, I think that those people don't have the opportunity that they had 10 years ago to get into the market. My concern is that 0 to 500,000 that we'll never see those homes on the market again. But what I think is positive about the real estate market is I think now more than ever, the real estate agent is either going to have to be a sharpshooter or they're going to be out of business. So I think that only the strong will survive. The garden club real estate agent will be a thing of the past because in the future, you're going to have to hone your skills. You really will have to be the Michael Jordan of real estate to survive. It's not going to be for the amateur anymore. Wow. Which I love.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, Glennda, I so appreciate this. We could talk for a long time, but next time we're in Atlanta, we'll have to get together and continue this conversation. We greatly appreciate you and you spending your time with us and sharing your amazing story. And if anybody wants to reach out to Glennda, what's the best way to follow you on all of your socials?
So sit down. I have been training Google that there's only one way to spell Glennda, and that's Glennda. So literally just Google Glennda and you can find me on any platform that you're the most comfortable.
That I love that. I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna train Google how to spell Hillary correctly with one L.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm just gonna learn how to use Google, but that's okay. We all come to the business where we start, right? That's where we are.
There we are. Thank you, everybody. This has been a wonderful episode, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Own It.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glennda. That was amazing. Thanks. Appreciate you so very much.